Welcome back to Work Hard RC. Today we're going to be upgrading this little guy, the SCX30. We have a handful of parts from MoFo RC, a lot of brass. We have a chassis kit. We have some tires. Let's go ahead and get these all installed, have some fun, and check them out. All right, so there are a couple companies out there that are providing some upgrades for the SCX30. Now, I just got this in hand not too long ago, and I had the parts for the upgrades before I even got the vehicle, which doesn't normally happen, but we do have some cool parts from MoFo RC. These actually come from RC 4-wheel drive, but we did get them from MoFo RC. I'll be linking in the description everything that I'm showing you here, along with the prices. You guys can pick it up. We do have a coupon code with MoFo RC, so if you guys want to save, check out the description, and you guys can save some money on your order from MoFo if you guys want to get some of this stuff. So we got the wheels. These are the Irok wheels. These are 0.7s. They looked like they had some pretty good grip when I looked on the website. I'm not too familiar with anything this small, but we do have them here, and they'll be working with the kit that we got. So I'm going to show you first. They do have some brass links. We do have the brass lower links here. And then we also have a steering link as well in brass. They sent us some of their new stickers. I'm not sure if you've ever seen any of the MoFo RC stickers, but these are the newer ones, a little bit smaller, a little more scale, so I'll be putting some of those on our vehicles. Looks like there's a license plate as well. Now the chassis, the next part, as well as the brass pieces I just showed you, are all made in Texas. So that's a really cool feature to have as far as your product, that they're made in the US. So I just want to make sure everything was intact here to show you guys the box. Now I did get the chassis called the Modzilla. They have another one. I'm not too familiar. I don't remember what it was called. Let me check that out for real quick, see what that chassis is called. The other one's the Pocket Snake. So the biggest difference between the Pocket Snake and the one that I got, which is the Modzilla, is the Modzilla is going to actually increase the height just a little bit, so you don't have to do any modification to the body, and you keep everything kind of stock as far as not having to trim that body. So it does add still performance, given this is all brass, but that's the box right there for the Modzilla chassis from MoFo RC. Now in the box, it does give you that 7mm lift. It does have the modular bend design. I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. You guys can check it out. See if I don't drop everything out right there. It does have the rear electronics mount, arch front brace, and the hole's already tapped, ready for you to go. It does add for the brass 14.5 grams, which is 8 grams heavier than the stock chassis. But I'm going to go ahead and dig a little more into this. Real quick, I want to show you this come with the wheels before I turn the camera angle around. These are pretty cool, and right there, wheels for the SCX30. Now they have them so that you can put brass in the wheels, or the tire, yeah, wheels. Let me pull the brass out real quick. So you put brass right there in the wheel. So that goes in the back, just like that. You can see that gold peeking through. So very nice. I'm gonna flip the camera around. Let's go and get all of this installed and go have some fun. I do have a MoFo RC motor and ESC. I'm gonna kind of tweak that. If I can get that to fit, I may as well just throw it in here too. So let's see if we can get this thing fully upgraded. All right, so I'm kind of going into this blind. I haven't done too much research on it just because the chassis kit just came out, but let's go ahead and see if we can get this thing put together. I'm going to go ahead and first take a look at everything that we're going to be using. I do have my tool sets here, but let's take a look at what actually comes inside of the chassis kit here. So it looks like this is going to be the rear mounting plate, which is going to give us some good amount of room for the battery. So that is still going to fit the body. I believe the body's still going to fit in the rear the way it should. Let me see how this mounts here with the lights, I believe. Yeah. So that's going to mount like that. And as you can see on the side, you do have hole spacing for the shocks. So that's nice there. You can adjust the shocks and the orientation. So I'm going to put that there on the side. This is going to be the front mount, which also doubles as a shock tower. So you can see there the holes where you can adjust the shock mounts. And you can make it basically however you like as far as tuning the shocks. You still have those little prongs that stick out that's going to hold the body in place, like you saw in the stock one there. So it'll still use those stock clamps there for the body. And then everything kind of fell down. I do like how everything's cut out very nicely, but let's pop out these wheels. We have some hardware there. We have the chassis itself and one of the weights. I do like the boxes they put everything in. And again, this entire chassis kit's made in the US, so if you guys are into that, just know that this is all made in Texas. So this is one of the wheels here. And we do have the brass mounted already inside. Now this is basically that brass is going to sandwich between this and the hub to keep that in place. Forget how much the wheel hubs or the wheel weights add. Let me see. So these add just under a gram of weight all the way around. And you do have 4 of them in the kit. So I'm going to go ahead and fit the tires on there now so that we can take a look, at least one of them, so we can see how that looks and how they fit before I go too far. My plan is to show you guys everything that came from MoFo RC, install it, and if I have any hiccups, I'll let you guys know what happened. So this does have foam pre-installed. Let's see how these fit. I don't know if any companies will come out with bead locks for anything this small, but that would be pretty cool. Very nice fit. Looks like it's not going anywhere. Nice. So these say on their Super Swamper. You can see the tread on there. And those are the wheels. See the size difference here. So given that we're going to have bigger wheels and tires, this chassis should allow me to install these without having to modify anything. So we'll see if that's the case here in a little bit. But pretty cool. Let's go. I'm going to put all these 4 on, but very nice. Wanted to show you guys that. And then the chassis itself. And again, being that this is all brass, it does add some weight to it. Like I said, total, this will be 8 grams heavier than stock. And you can see the placement there for the shocks as well. I'm not sure how this is going to... We'll have to see, because I think I'm going to mount the shocks here, but we'll take a look how that goes here in a few minutes once we get this installed. And like I said, if I run into any issues, I'll be sure to let you guys know. But I think that's it. Oh, no, we have our links. So we do have a steering link with all the hardware you need. This is also brass. Let me look up real quick to see how much weight these add to the vehicle. So the lower link set, which is this one here, I can already feel the weight on this one. So this one should add a decent amount of weight. It's going to add 6 grams. So you get 2 front lower links and 2 rear lower links in this kit. And then for the steering link, let's see how much this one weighs. Doesn't feel too heavy, but any weight for something this size, you're going to definitely see it in the performance. Don't see it on the site. Wonder if it's sold out. Oh no, here it is. And very good as far as value. There's only $6.99 for the steering link, but pretty good. This is going to add 1.8 grams to the front with that steering link. So very nice by MoFo RC. Very quick to get these out. Now I do have a motor. I'm going to see if I can mess with that here in a little bit once I get the chassis set up, because I won't be using these skid plates and other things. Once I have those out, I'll be able to really mess and fine tune where I want placement for this. So I'm going to go ahead and take it apart, and I'll get back to you guys if I have any issues. If not, you guys will see when it's all done. All right, so we have a little bit of a change of scenery here for our channel. I usually use this for our Instagram as kind of a backdrop for our videos. So I'm going to be using it a little bit more here for these micro cars. Let me know if this checkered flooring is a little bit too much for the video. But here is the MoFo RC, Modzilla chassis. This is all in brass, so just know that the weights that I'm telling you is the brass. Very, very nice looking there. You see the nice MoFo RC engraving right there. And then on the other side, you can see a little Godzilla right behind the Modzilla. I'm not sure if you can see it too well on the camera here, but there it is, all put together with the wheels and the tires and then the brass inserts. I'm not sure if you can see them from the other side. We can definitely see them through the spokes there. So very cool. I'm going to quickly go over all the parts that are in it, again, with pricing and weight, and I'll link it here. I'll put a picture of it right here in this area. So these are the lower links. Now these sell for $12.99 in brass, and again, everything I have on this is brass. These add about 6 grams of weight. The steering link, which is right here in the front, is going to add 1.8 grams, and that one in brass costs $7.99. Now you can purchase these wheels and the brass weights and everything separately, but in the kit, it comes with the chassis, it comes with all of the chassis components, and it comes with the the wheels and the brass inserts. So just keep that in mind if you guys are searching for both of them. Know that the chassis does come with those wheels and the brass, so you don't have to buy those separately. Now again, like I mentioned, this is the Modzilla chassis. Now the difference between this and the other one, which is I think it's called the Snake. Let me double check on the name on that one. Now this one is going to add a little more height clearance, and the reason being is that you don't have to modify as much the chassis while you're putting everything together. And if you have bigger tires like these 0.7s, you don't really have to trim anything. And I'll show you guys that. There's like very, very minimal rubbing with this current setup. And I could probably adjust it a little bit more and get rid of that, but I'll show you guys what I mean when I put it together. So the other chassis is the Snake chassis, which will rise a little bit lower, kind of just like that with the shocks depressed. Now that one is the same price, and again for brass, $44.99, but you don't have as much clearance, and you more than likely will have to trim the fender wells. So just keep that in mind as you're shopping. I didn't necessarily mind it being a little bit higher, but again, I can adjust that if I need to, given all those holes there for the shocks. So the chassis kit, incomplete with everything together, adds 14.5 grams of weight to the SCX30. Now for the transmitter, since this is pretty much a complete build, I use Meus, and I use this on mostly all of my builds here, and I'll link that here as well. Now this one, I did get a different, so for the transmitter, it is, I can't remember the model number, I'll have to find that out for you guys and link it on the bottom, see if it says here. But what's cool about this is it does have a rechargeable battery in it, and it does recharge with USB-C. So that is the transmitter I'll be using for this build, and like I said, for most of my builds that I have for the SCX24. Now as far as the receiver, that is something you'll have to keep in mind, because the receiver that comes with the transmitter is fairly big. The one that I purchased aftermarket, and the price on that one is $54.99 for the transmitter. Now this receiver here is $12.49. You can get this on Amazon. I'll link it in the description. It's very small. You can see it kind of leaning there up on the side. And if you look at it from there, I kind of have it standing with double-sided tape to keep it out of the way. But having something so small, and I use these on all my SCX24s, it really keeps everything nice and compact. So very nicely done by Meus there as far as keeping everything very small, very tiny when you need it. So that is the receiver I'm using in this build. As you can see there, like I mentioned, you do have the MoFo RC Nanobam. Those sell for $29.99 on the website. And as far as the ESC, also MoFo RC, this is the Rockwolf. Now this one sells for about $55. But in my experience with the MoFo RC builds, it works very well. Haven't had any issues with it at all. It does come pre-tuned for this motor, but they do send an adapter where you can tune it for other brushless motors as well. You just have to download one of the sheets online so you can take advantage of that ability to modify the ESC. You can see here, the MoFo RC on this tower here that you have for the body to lock into. Now I didn't get a chance to put the lights back on just because I'd have to rewire them to fit this receiver here. So I will be doing that. I just haven't done it yet. So I won't have the lights right now. And then we have our battery. This is a 300 milliamp 75C 2S LiPo. Now, given the current setup, I could run a 3S, but I'm going to keep it at 2S just because I don't have any of the gears internally modified yet. I don't think it'll be an issue if I run 3S, but this nice little 2S fits perfectly along the side of this mount here in the rear. I do have that stuck in there with Velcro, so you guys can hear that Velcro coming off. That's how I have that battery mounted there. Now, one thing to note is I did glue these tires in just because there was a little bit of slippage. I couldn't really get them to sit very well. Now, that may not be the case for you, but these wheels and these tires are probably always going to stay together. And for the price points of everything individually, it's not too bad. So these are the RC 4-wheel drive Irok tires. Now, these sell as a set, so there's no you have to order 2 of them, is $8.99. Now, they look to be pretty good as far as the tread pattern. Now, I didn't have any issues with the stock tires, but you know, I ordered the kit. I had to order the tires to go with it. So just note that you don't necessarily need them. I'm not sure how they're going to run. We're going to test it right now because they are a bit bigger and they are very wide. So it looks like I've lost some steering, but it's still there. I don't really have any rubbing. If I do, it's very minimal. So I'm going to test run it with these, see how they do. I do like the fact that I have the weights in the wheels there. So we'll see. If not, I might throw these guys back on. These are the stock ones and run it like that. Maybe I'll do both. Just keep in mind, I don't think if I mentioned this in the first video, but you do have a tool that comes with the SCX30 that allows you to take off the nuts because I was taking them off differently. So just know that in the back of the tool that comes in your SCX30 box, you do have this piece here, or this screwdriver here that in the rear has the little notch out for these nuts that come with the SCX30. So let's go ahead and throw the body on so you can kind of see how it rides as far as the ride height. I'll take out the battery for the time being. Now everything goes together back the way it did when it was stock because it uses the stock mounting. And then it just clips right together and closed. So there it is with the body installed. Now I did keep the blue one stock just because I like the gray. And if you guys watched my first video, I had 2 of them. So the blue one will stay stock for a while. I know another company's going to be coming out with some other stuff, so we'll see if we modify it with that. But this is the little SCX30 fully upgraded with MoFo RC parts. Total for the parts I put in there was like $234, I believe. Let me double check that if I have it loaded up here. So total was at $237.41. That's from the motor, the ESC, the brass, everything that I put in there as far as the chassis to upgrade it. So for about $240, you get yourself an upgraded $100 SCX30. So not too bad. For under $400, you can have an upgraded little SCX30. Which seems to be like it would be pretty capable. But again, we'll take it out right now and test drive it. But real quick, let's compare it as far as ride height to the... Well, let's go over it more before I take the camera off, and then we'll do that. But just admiring how beautiful it looks. You can see the brass links and the clearance you have there. You can see that just me depressing the shocks here, the tires don't touch. Even if I were to take it and articulate it all the way to the side, they have just very, very minimal rubbing there, which could use a little bit of trimming. But like I said, this Modzilla sells with the idea that you won't have to modify it as much as the Snake chassis. But just a tad bit of rubbing right there, and that's all the way articulated there on that side. Now this side, let me see if I can get this here to show you guys. You do have a little more rubbing there, and as far as clearance for turning, come on this side, all the way depressed, you do have a little bit of rubbing there. I'm not going to trim this at the moment. The nice thing about this body, you can actually just take the fenders and the entire side molding here, just with about 4 screws, I think, maybe 6 screws. So if I wanted to remove the fenders, I could, and that should allow the enough clearance that I need. But for the time being, we'll just test run it like this, and then we'll trim it later. But very minimal trimming with these wheels and tires set up. Now with the stock, I don't anticipate to have any issues whatsoever. Now, time permitting, I should be able to run it with this on our course, and then we'll switch out the stock just to see. And if I don't, then I'll definitely be doing another video with the stock tires, and more videos to come on our Instagram if you guys don't follow us already. So let's go ahead real quick and take a look at it with the stock Bronco. So you're going to see the heights here as far as what it adds to it. And then I didn't do this in the first video I was supposed to, but this is the Ascent 32. And I think, let me see here, the ride heights on these are going to be pretty close now with the upgrades. So this was the SCX30 and the Red Cat. Clearly a lot taller. The tire's a lot taller as well. And now this is the upgraded MoFo RC compared to the Red Cat. And now they're just about even as far as their size, height, tires, and everything. So just to give you guys an idea. I'm going to go ahead and put them all side by side so you guys can check those out. And we're going to go ahead and take this camera and get you guys a closer look at these. So I still do like the blue. Some folks don't like the blue for whatever reason. I'm a fan. I do like the gray just because I have my Forerunner in gray. And the color is nice. I think it tied everything together as far as the MoFo RC upgrades. And then we have the Red Cat. So all of them lined up there. Looking very nice. Let's go ahead and go back and appreciate and focus on the MoFo. Take a closer look. It's always funny how the camera perspective makes these things look gigantic. Very nicely done by MoFo RC. Let's go ahead and take this out in a quick test drive. And then we're going to continue to have some fun. Follow us on Instagram at WorkHardRC. We'll be doing tons of videos of this little guy and this little guy. All right, let's go ahead and take this guy for a test drive on our course. It looks awesome with those wheels and tires. I think it'll perform a little bit better with smaller tires, so I might have to change those out. But let's go ahead and give it a run quickly with the current setup with the tires and wheels. And then I may change it out to stock so we get a feeling on how they both run. No issues with clearance there. Let's see if it's possible. That is not the Bronco revving. It's just one of our neighbors. All right, so we have the stock tires, which I never had issues with in the beginning when it was in stock form, and you guys can watch that other video. The stock tires did grip pretty good, but I went ahead and changed them out because I feel like the other tires were just a little bit too tall. And when I switched it out, I did adjust the spacing of the shock, so it is running a little bit lower. We're going to see if that helped at all. So far, it's still very capable here in this section of a course. Let's check it out coming down. It does seem a little more planted with that brass. Made a huge difference changing out those wheels and tires. I do love the fact they have brass, so I have to see if there's any brass components I can get that'll fit these stock tires. Having that brass does add a little more confidence when I'm driving it. So these first obstacles I did made it up very easily. I didn't really have to think about it too much, so. And up and over. Cool. So a little bit of extra ground clearance there. I didn't have to really gun it trying to come up, so big difference there. And then that brass ply keeping everything grounded. With a little bit higher clearance with the Modzilla. Very nice. Pretty impressive I was able to do that. In its stock form, and then so much easier with all the modifications. I cannot wait till they come out with metal gears for the transmission. I just have a feeling those plastic gears aren't going to last too long with this Nanobam motor. All right, and looks like it's going to make it all the way down. Perfect. Look at that. That brass chassis putting it. Oh, almost. If I was paying a little more attention, maybe I would have not tipped over. But I am also driving one-handed, and I'm using a different camera. So using different cameras, I can get better angles a little bit closer. Let's go ahead and flip them back over here. The brass, everything makes a difference. You can definitely feel it while you're driving it. The wheels I'll have to mess with a little bit, the tires, to kind of get the right fitment that I want. But overall, even with the stock tires, the Modzilla chassis works very, very well. Again, a little bit of fine tuning with the shock placement and the tires and wheels. Might have to trim just a little bit to get that to sit the way I want it. But overall, the MoFo RC upgrades make this even more capable, and it does add some more confidence having that brass. I was driving one-handed. The first video I did, I was driving two-handed, so that does make a difference. I'll see you next time if I can get somebody to record for me. But overall, very nicely done by MoFo RC. If you guys want to pick one of these up, I have it all linked in the description. Don't forget to use our code WORKHARD5 to save 5% on MoFo RC. Thank you guys for watching. Please remember to subscribe. We'll talk to you guys next time.